So this coming Monday, July 8th, I will be signing my divorce papers. A year ago, July 7th, I was walking into my wedding ceremony and saying sacred vows and planting a weeping cherry tree in the ground in honor of our union. At this time last year and in this, over the course of the year, I experienced really the greatest fear that I'd ever felt. And anxiety and worry. In the process of moving up here a few years ago, I was experiencing an enormous amount of anxiety, and then I moved up and went into a place of isolation and got very physically sick. And I think I held on to this hope that the wedding would resolve it all. The wedding would finally allow me to trust Kyle in a way that trust had been broken a few years in, and we just never really got back. And I just kept wanting that to be, I was clinging to this hope that that wedding would tie it all together and resolve me and bring me that deep sense of peace and a deep sense that I was beloved and respected and held, and that I was going to be okay. And that didn't come. And a deep disappointment came afterwards, and a deep, deep depression. And in that kind of triggered, fearful place where I was living all that time, fear wakes up the ego. Fear creates the atmosphere where the ego thrives. And my ego, what the ego does is it tries to protect, and the ego is always trying to make sure that its needs get met, its needs get met, its needs get met. It's always fearfully trying to gather those needs and protect, its sources, its resources from others, right? Because it's always afraid. And it kept me in this very attached place, a very codependent place in my relationship. Kept me very jealous of Kyle's other relationships, and it kept me always trying to prove to myself that the relationship was good. There's a lot of projection that was happening at that time. I was always trying to convince myself of how great this life we had together was, and what a great partner he was. And I was just kind of like trying to tell myself this story and talk myself into it. And if anyone, kind of questioned if things were okay with us or with me, I would say, oh, of course, right? I would put on the show. That's how my ego responded. And in all of that protecting and projecting, I wasn't being honest with myself. My needs were not getting met there. Not my really basic, deep needs for trust and truth and connection weren't happening in that relationship. I kept asking for him to see me and to know me and to value me in a way that just he wasn't hooked up to do. He wasn't able to do. The image that kept coming to me as a desperately thirsty woman going to a dry well again and again and again. And meanwhile, there's all these wells around. I have all these amazing people in my life that were like, hey, I could give you, I see you, I know you, I love you, I can fill you up, I can offer you some love, I would love to. Come on over to my well. And I would say, I can't, I really want his, I want his resources, I want his love, I want it from this well. When I finally did start opening up and really allowing my other relationships to thrive more and to have more intimacy with my old friends, my family, with new friends, the more I let that happen, the more I realized that I didn't need to keep clinging to this thing that was not working. I let in the light of revelation on that whole thing, and I was finally able to ungrip. And when I ungripped, that's when I started getting the gifts. The gifts of the connection to these other beautiful resources. The gifts of relationships that where trust hadn't been broken and where trust lived. The gift of a vision of a whole new way of life that I hadn't been able to let myself see because I was very attached to the whole, marriage track and the monogamy track and the owning the property. And now I'm living in this communal lifestyle that suits me so much more. The greatest gift, though, the greatest difference between a year ago and now is that instead of being full of fear, I'm full of trust in myself. I trust that I have everything I need. I carry it with me. Everything I need to get my needs met, to call in the resources that I need. That I am a magnet for good people and good experiences and for teachings and for nourishment, that I call that in just by who I am. So I don't need to cling to anything or anyone anymore. I invite you to work with me this summer in order to find this deep trust, that deep peace that comes when you know you've got what it takes to walk your path. And whatever you don't have yet that you need, you will call in when you surrender to your path and to your truth. I have a chakra retreat coming up, and it's all about that. Each chakra is a different center of awareness, a different place from which we can experience life, and each one relates to a different aspect of your life. And so we're going to look at each one, and we're going to figure out where you've been disempowered, where you are fearful, where your needs aren't getting met in this part of your life, and what you can do to build up your power. And as those power centers wake up inside and start to harmonize and connect, you'll start to touch into parts of yourself that you didn't even realize you were missing, and you'll start to see yourself as finally capable of stepping into the visions that you've had for a long time and maybe haven't felt you even deserved to live. It's just the most powerful and beautiful work. It'll be a beautiful group of people to hold space for you while you do it, and we'll meditate every day, a few times a day. We'll do yoga a few times a day, and you'll leave with this awesome toolkit to keep the work going. Thank you for being in this world with me, and for seeing me and knowing me, and for giving me the opportunity to see you and to know you. These intimate connections that we have are really the great beauty in life. And so I look forward to continuing to share them all with you. Oh, I also have a workshop coming up with Ariel Kiley, which is going to be amazing, on the breakthrough process. That's July 21st in Brooklyn at Prima Yoga in the afternoon. And so, come spend time. Come spend time empowering yourself with me and this beautiful community we have.